Welcome to Chautauqua, the Interlake Trail, live, online, and on the land. My name is Ardith Boxall, and I'm the Artistic Director here at Theatre Projects Manitoba. For over 18 months, Theatre Projects has been working with 10 artists on 10 multidisciplinary arts projects inspired by the land, waterways, and people in Manitoba's Interlake region. The projects are being created in collaboration with the citizens who call this land home. Our theatre company is located in various venues, offices, backyards, and rehearsal halls here in Winnipeg on Treaty 1 territory in the homeland of the Métis Nation. But we are a theatre without walls. Our desire to learn the individual and collective stories about who we are on this land, past, present, and future, is leading us beyond the city limits, where we can connect, create, and explore these questions with more Manitobans. This is Chautauqua. Our team has been living, working, and creating with communities that are on Treaty 1, 2, 3, and 5 territories, and in the Métis community of St. Laurent. We wish to acknowledge that for thousands of years, these territories have been the traditional and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, Dene, and Métis peoples, and they continue to be home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island. We thank the many stewards of these lands and waters that support and sustain life on these plains, forests, and tundra. We are grateful for all of the knowledge keepers, storytellers, artists, and makers who host us on this land. We've been through a lot the past year, not always able to connect in person with our collaborating artists and citizens, or with you, our friends and colleagues. Building projects and relationships online, with only a few windows of opportunity to put our feet on the land while we work, has been humbling and challenging. In the past few weeks, we've been able to create on the land and in the water, literally, and this has filled us with optimism and gratitude. There are better days ahead. We're proud to share what we've created so far, and we will gather soon, live on the land in a community near you. Welcome to Chautauqua Live. I'm Ardith from Theatre Projects. I want to welcome you all here. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We are so excited to start to share some of the work of our Chautauqua artists. It has been, as you can imagine, a long and winding road, but we're here and we're ready. This work is in progress. There are 10 artists. Some you'll see tonight, some you can tune in and share their work on Friday night. And the work of their collaborators and community members that we've met along the way. And so we begin. I'd like to introduce our board chair, Bill Kerr, with a special dedication for tonight's performance.
I'm here to dedicate this evening's Chautauqua Live performance to Chris Johnson, who passed away last Saturday. I'm happy to be able to do so, but dearly wish it was not yet time to do it. It is fitting, I think, that I make this dedication because Chris is in many ways to blame for my presence here. After giving 8 years of service to the Theatre Projects Board, he suggested that it was my turn to serve, and he was a person one didn't want to disappoint. In recognition of his work at the Department of English, Theatre, Media, and Film, Chris was named Professor Emeritus. In recognition of his contribution to new Canadian and Manitoba theatre, Manitoba Playwrights Association established the Chris Johnson Award for Best Play by Manitoba Playwright. In recognition of his profound contributions as a teacher, Chris received the 2018 Theatre Educator Award from the EVs, the Winnipeg Theatre Awards. Chris made an enormous impact during his more than 4 decades at the University of Manitoba, teaching and directing thousands of theatre students while making significant contributions to the promotion and study of Canadian theatre. He was passionately involved with and dedicated to the creation of new work, particularly new Canadian and new Manitoba work. This evening, which brings together many voices and many types of creation, connecting across the distances of this past year, seems a particularly fitting event to dedicate to him. Practitioners too numerous to mention, many education students who went on to teach theatre across the province, and countless others who continue to enjoy life in the theatre began their journey with Chris Johnson as their most dedicated guide. Personally, Chris was a wonderful collaborator, a warm, generous, and open man. Personally, I want to thank Chris for being a mentor, a leader, and a friend. He will be dearly missed.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for coming tonight, and thanks for sharing those words about Chris with us. And I know that Chris would say, you still have 5 years to go.
He would too.
Indeed. We're going to kick off the evening now with the work of our first RBC emerging artist, Shayna Pollock. Shayna's work will be featured again on Friday night, where she did an art installation in Selkirk, Manitoba. But tonight, we want to show you some of her incredible photographs. Shayna is a designer, an industrial designer, a maker of many things, and indeed a photographer. So enjoy these photos to start. Okay, I'm super excited. Daniel Jordan, Red Moon Road. You may know him as Johnny Moonbeam. Here we know him as Daniel, troubadour, singer-songwriter, producer, and our good friend. I'm going to let Daniel introduce the work that he's been doing in the Interlake to you, but he is doing a beautiful 5-song EP inspired by the water and the lakes and sailing and a number of great collaborators. So here we go.
Thank you so much, Ardith, and thanks for having me here tonight. It's wonderful to be on stage again. My love affair with the Interlake began on a 16-foot dinghy sailboat called an albacore when I put it in the Gimli Harbor, not quite realizing I was going on to the 11th biggest lake in the world, and sailed the next 3 days straight all the way around Hecla to Grindstone and played a festival there. And when I got off that boat and got on stage, it gave whole new meaning to rock and roll, let me tell you. But since then, I've got a much more sizable boat on the lake with my partner, and we sail just north of Gimli, and my love affair only grows. On that new, bigger boat, I've discovered how truly awesome that lake can be, and how quickly and how dangerous it can be, and changeable it is. And in talking with the venerate storyteller Ruth Christie, she told me that some of those waves that have caused so much heartache actually have names. And it goes back to the Icelanders, as far as I could tell, and they call the 3 waves that often come together the three sisters, and their names have been given as well. And those names are Agnes, Mabel, and Becky. And they say it's Becky, the last one, who gets you. So in searching a little bit more for the where that story came from, I couldn't really find a whole lot. And so I decided I would write my own tale of the three sisters on the lake, Agnes, Mabel, and Becky. So this is the three sisters, and it goes a little like this. You see the wind and the lake, they were lovers long before time had begun, and they moved together as lovers do, timeless under the sun. And when the winter grew colder, they were parted by endless glass. Their daughters were born in the springtime, first Agnes, then Mabel, then Becky, she came last. Agnes was oldest and dutiful to a fault. She sparkled in the sunlight, a beautiful cobalt. In her heart a secret, locked up in the vault. She'd fallen for a fisherman from a village on the shore. She watched him from the beaches where she'd washed up before, followed in the water when he was pulling on the oars. Mabel, she was second and adored her sister so, followed in the water and content to follow, lovely as the moon, the curve of the crescent hollow. But when she saw her sister spying as he fished, she felt the stab of envy and a shock and jealous twist, shaken and amazed by the weight of what she wished. Becky was the baby with the mischievous streak. She talked back to her sisters and she gave her mother cheek. Secretly she thought of them as weak. She thought that they were silly, pining over a boy. She didn't care about them or how he brought them joy. She saw his fishing trawler as a toy. They followed it out, yeah, they followed it out, the three sisters in a row. They tossed it about, yeah, they tossed it about as the storm began to grow. Agnes following her heart and Becky following her sister, baby Becky following for fun. Becky, she knew in the wake of the two, most of the work would be done. So Agnes struck strong and Becky struck strong and left the boat battered and bruised. When Becky came along with an ominous song, she tore the planking loose, drifting away. They're drifting away. Now it's drifting away. It's drifting, it's drifting, it's drifting away. Keeps drifting away. It keeps drifting, keeps drifting, keeps drifting away. And as the body grew colder and the daylight streamed from his eyes, the sisters as one saw what they'd done, and the storm began to subside. Agnes wept for the fisherman, and Mabel, she wept for the shame. And Becky came
past, and to herself laughed, thought what a wonderful game. Beware ye sailors and fisher folk, for the daughters their fathers lead take, and would bid thee come, as many have done, to their mother's house deep in the lake.
So that's the story of the three terrible waves out in Lake Winnipeg. One of the other collaborators besides Ruth Christie, who's illuminated a lot of the incredible history and lore around the Interlake, was Mr. Andy Blick, who I think we have the pleasure of some of his images possibly behind me right now, or certainly at some point in the program. And he was the one who told me about the smallpox epidemic of 1877, I believe, that went through the community and caused horrible, horrible suffering. And actually, at one point, they had the town of Gimli quarantined. Quarantine, of course, being a word that has entered the lexicon as of late. So learning about this wedding that transpired during the quarantine, I got the idea for this next song. So it tells the story of Carrie Taylor, a young woman from Frontenac, who made her way all the way to Manitoba and met a farmer, an Icelandic farmer, and fell in love, and decided they needed to get married on January 22nd. I'm not sure what the rush was, but knowing it was in Manitoba, it would have been probably pretty cold. There was no minister in town, so they sent for one from Winnipeg, and he came and met them at Netley Creek, the boundary of the quarantine, and they shoved their vows across, and that's how they got married. So I thought, especially given the current climate and a good old-fashioned love story, it was a song waiting to happen. So this is called The Ballad of Carrie Taylor.
I was born long ago to a happy home, 5 sisters in Frontenac. But when Mama took sick, she left us so quick, 5 little dresses in black. We grew up in mourning, but there were nights in which I'll confide. In my dreams I would see her smiling at me, waiting on the other side. Well, I was no fool, so they sent me to school. The years passed by in a whirl, and my skirts were let down and my hair was taken up, all at once no longer a girl. Got a job out in the country, where one morning out the window I spied hair a golden color, a complexion like no other, of a woman on the other side. Well, she became my friend, told me she'd been sent a faraway colony. So my uncle and my daddy decided we'd be happy on the shores of an inland sea. We undertook a journey, dreaming of the life that we'd find if we kept heading west, and our journey was blessed, we'd find it on the other side. All right. When we got to Manitoba, wicked winds blew colder, ice froze under the snow. So when a fine-looking man asked me for my hand, it set my maiden heart all aglow. But as her love was rising, the pox swept through like a tide, and no one was getting married, with so many being buried, carried over to the other side. And the quarantine meant we could not leave, not a minister left in town. So with nothing getting better, we wrote to one a letter to see if he would come around. He met us at the river, but he would not cross the boundary line. But not a word was crossed, not a word was lost, with us shouting vows across, him standing on the other side. Now I'm older than my mother, and my eyes are dimming with the night. But I know I'll see my family when I cross over to the other side.
The Ballad of Carrie Taylor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniel. That was a wonderful tune. My name is Andraea Sartison. I'm the artistic producer here at Theatre Projects Manitoba, and it has been my absolute delight to be working on the Chautauqua, this one and the previous one with Ardith over the last number of years. It's a project that really, for us as artists, makes us remember why we love storytelling and connecting with people, and that's definitely been inspiration for me throughout this process. I'd now like to introduce you to another one of our collaborators. His name is Hañwakañ Blaikie Whitecloud. Now, Hañwakañ is kind of a jack of all trades. Hañwakañ is an entrepreneur, a business person. He is also a skateboarder and also a documentary filmmaker. So when he went out into the Interlake, one of the questions that he was asking was, what do people do here for fun, both now and historically? And from the answers that he got, he created a VR virtual reality museum, which will be launched online in the fall and features stories of water slides and of old-time dances, snake pits, and a lot of the work that you're going to see tonight and on Friday. And he also found out that there's a lot of skateboard infrastructure in the Interlake. And so his plan as we move into August and in September is to host a number of skate jams in the Interlake, bringing people together. And he has a little taste test tonight that he'll share of what that's going to be like. So I introduce to you Hañwakañ.
My name's Hañwakañ Blaikie Whitecloud. We're in Stonewall, and behind me is a skateboard park. And I brought Zach O'Donnell, and he's about to rip the park right now. So let's see what he can do.
Started from the res, now I'm living the dream. Wouldn't say it was about him, but you know what I mean. Cause I rose to the top, it poetically seems that the next word to rhyme was suggested on cream. But there was a slow rise, 10 years on the road grind, with plenty of long nights and many of nosedives. Singing these songs like it'd give me a long life beyond what I had, but I know that it's not right. Maybe a lost sight in the lens of a spotlight, and I never thought that I was paying the cost twice. Industry's not nice, it'll burn like a hot knife, hand me it down like a stone in the Klondike. They're looking for gold any way they can get it. Put a price on your spirit if you're willing to sell it. And I told them no, I have never regretted. I am rooted in culture and it's deeply embedded. College never taught me the knowledge I was dreaming of. I was 27 when I learned who I really was, sitting in the lodge with the drum songs feeding up.
Okay, that was the Stony Mountain Skate Park, which was like, all right. Actually, it was pretty good for like a small town park. And now we're at Oak Bank, and this park is amazing.
Hey. If I could have told me when I was a young man not being yourself, well, that's just the dumb plan you gotta invest in. It helps them be rested. Aggression is useful if not misdirected. Lust is for lost ones, so proceed with caution. There's a lot of hurt people, just make sure you're not one. True love is awesome, though the heart can play possum if the energy's right.
Thanks to Manitoba Theatre Projects for telling us about the new skate park in Lundar, Manitoba. If you don't know where Lundar is, I don't blame you. You drive straight up Highway number 6 on your way to the Paul or Thompson, and on your right you'll see a giant statue of a goose. That's when you know you're in Lundar.
Give thanks to the creator when you wake and you sleep. Life ain't a game, ain't no playing for keeps. We don't take what we own when we finally make peace. College never taught me the knowledge I was dreaming of. I was 27 when I learned who I really was, sitting in the lodge with the drum songs feeding us. Hey. College never taught me the knowledge I was dreaming of. I was 27 when I learned who I really was. Sitting in the lodge with the drum songs healing us. Hey, hey, hey. Patience is discipline. Love is a medicine. Let me go at your Wayne Dime. I am thankful for everything. I am thankful for everything.
Like ledges super buttery. It's got like ledges, a set, a down rail, a hip, a quarter. If it was in my homie's backyard, I'd be super stoked on it.
I am thankful for everything. College never taught me the knowledge I was dreaming of. I was 27 when I learned who I really was. Sitting in the...
Thank you, Hañwakañ. I can't wait to go skateboarding with you. All right, so our next guest is a good friend of mine and a longtime collaborator with Theatre Projects Manitoba. This is Thérèse Friesen. Thanks for joining us, Claire.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a treat to be at the gas station.
Yeah, it's kind of special. It's been a while since we've been in a theater, hey?
Yeah, it sure has.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about your project. And you were involved in the Chautauqua in 2018. So this is your second Chautauqua. You're a veteran.
Yeah.
And what made you decide to come back again for a second time?
Well, the first experience was so incredible. I'd never really been a part of something like that. To get to spend such a long amount of time in each community was really special. So I'm definitely someone who really, really loves people. I like being around people. I like spending time with people. And so to get to go into communities and really get to know people there and have some really long-lasting relationships with them. And of course, art is just, I feel like, such a special way to spend time with people. So yeah, when you asked me to do Chautauqua 2, which was a little bit of a different feel than the first one, I was really, really excited at the thought of getting to go back into communities in the Interlake and also just build upon some of the relationships that Ted started the first time.
Yeah, it was a different kind of project this time than previously, because previously we were doing a lot of workshops in community and we were presenting some work that we had created in the city, whereas this time all the projects were created from the ground up with community members, so it was much more interactive. Can you tell us a little bit about who you ended up collaborating with for your piece?
Yeah, I was kind of amazed when I went and did the list of my collaborators. It was long. So I feel like there's like a number of different kinds of collaborators in my piece. Some people who have contributed their words and imagery. Videos are within my show. People like Merle and Patsy, and Penny and Sage, Morgan and Jude, who we're gonna hear from later on, are all people who are kind of embedded right within my show. And then that expanded because I had a lot of people who I did other sorts of workshops and projects with that also really, really influenced the show. So it's pretty exciting to look at a list of collaborators, even at a time when we're not in the room together.
Yeah, so how did you end up doing that? Because I know you're a person who likes to share space with people and be in community and be in circle with people. So what was your solution for not being able to do that almost at all?
Well, I had to learn how to use Zoom. That was hard. Yeah, it actually, what I had kind of proposed to Theatre Project as my research, and this was just prior to the pandemic, is that I had wanted to research isolation and its effect on the body. And then a month later, COVID happened. So I had intended to spend some time on my own, but also knew that, yeah, I am someone who really, really needs to collaborate with others in my work. So it started with a letter writing project. So I wrote letters back and forth to a number of people around the Interlake. And that kind of expanded to, I'm an arts facilitator. That's what I love to do more than anything is facilitate arts programs. And through theater projects, I got to design some workshops, and I met a whole bunch of people through that, and we did a lot of storytelling together. I got to go up to Steep Rock and work with a number of collaborators there in a very special time when we were allowed to do that. So it was just a variety of like really needing these collaborators and doing a lot of, you know, phone calls and anything that kind of kept us feeling connected.
Nice. And what did your, can you tell us a little bit about what your show became? What did the project morph into over this, I guess, for you, a 1.5 year long process?
Yeah, so it was intended to be a theater show. And I actually felt like kind of holding space for the restrictions and holding space for what we were all going through in a very unified way was important. And so the show, I really tried to acknowledge that and not pretend that it wasn't there. So it ended up being, it's a 9-piece installation that is meant to be accessed outside in nature, so that people can move through it at their own pace. It's a mixture of kind of visual art, dance, music, and there are, these 9 installations. And of course, the last set of restrictions didn't even allow us to be able to invite people out to kind of tour and interact with that. So I'm attempting my first film. It's going to be artsy.
To make a whole film instead.
I was like, maybe I'll just do a film instead, which is actually really neat to kind of have to think about how to interpret something that was meant to be live and meant to be outside in film. But I'm also working on an audio version of the show so that hopefully the installations can be put outside into community and people can kind of download it on their phone and do like a self-guided tour.
Right on. Good job in coming up with all the different solutions, not just one. I'm really looking forward to seeing it come to life. So tonight you're going to share a couple pieces, one that's part of your film and another one. So I'm going to just turn it to you and you can take it away. Great,
thanks. Yeah, so I guess one of the things that kind of connects all of these pieces is through workshops I did with collaborators. I also came up with my own body of work and tracked these 18 months through writing. So I thought I would share a piece of the writing that is within the film. And then after that, launch the trailer for the film that has yet to be completed, but will be. Okay. All at once, it does not seem so big. Watching a river that never stops moving. All the fears and doubts and uncertainties are just that. Little fears, little doubts, little uncertainties that fall from me, are washed from me when I position myself here in the now instead of in the tomorrow or the yesterday. It is all possible. All the joy and pain and sorrow, it is all there waiting for us. No matter what path, no matter what choice, our hearts will break. No matter what, so let's lay down arms and breathe in this moment, because right here, right now, I am safe. You are safe. We are fine. And tomorrow, we will meet it then. And yesterday, it can sit gently on our shoulders, whispering in our ear, almost weightless, taking flight when another yesterday needs to rest. You are welcome here, but this is not your home. Okay, and now the trailer. Arn McPherson is doing all the filming and editing, and has put together a little trailer of the full show.
I can't wait.
Me too.
Let's see it.
You were not what I expected when you arrived at my door. You came with almost nothing. A suitcase and something thrown over your arm, a jacket perhaps. This house had felt a sort of quiet that I was almost getting used to. There was nothing to interrupt my own thinking, so I kept on thinking until everything was true. You were expected, and yet not expected. You were coming, but it was only in your arrival that I felt surprise. I welcomed you in. You went straight to the mantel, face pressing into a line of wishbones I had gathered with no one to help in wishing. You laughed and told me I must be lucky to not need all those wishes. And I wanted instantly to intertwine my fingers with yours on bone.
Claire, thanks for joining us here at the gas station and for sharing those pieces with us. We can't wait to see the whole thing. Before I introduce our next guest, I just wanted to bring your attention to this beautiful banner by Joseph from the Traveling Sign Painters. Joseph Pilapil is one of our collaborators, and you'll get to hear a little bit more from him on Friday, so I hope you can tune in and learn more about his work. Our next guest is a really special friend that we've made over the last few Chautauquas in our travels to Ashern. And her name is Jude McCudden. And I want to say hello to Jude right now because I know that she went in from her trailer back to the library where she works in Ashern to watch this show. She is a poet, a beautiful artist, a lovely community member. And our technical director, Josh, was able to spend a day with her in her off-grid cabin in the Ashern Wilderness just last week. And here's a little clip from that experience.
Hi, I'm Jude. And I'm sitting in this cabin right now because in 2012, I came to Canada on an International Teachers Fellowship and taught in Winnipeg. I was very lucky that someone brought me up to the West Interlake area to show me what commercial ice fishing was about. And I met a fisherman. Over a period of 2 or 3 years, I fell in love with that person. And now I'm married and live in the log cabin that he built. So the call means a lot to me because it reminds me of the routine that Brian and I got in. And in many ways, those phone calls was how we got to know each other. Because in the year that I met him, I did not see him. I met him in the late January, early February. I didn't see him again till Thanksgiving in October. So you see, we didn't really get to know each other. I came back to Ashern because a family invited me to the Canadian Thanksgiving in the October, and he was invited as well. And it was there that at the end of the night, I was staying with this family. He was sitting on the couch. It was very natural. We were both tired. It had been a wonderful meal. And we were just talking about life. And I had boots on, and I took the boots off just because they were tight. And he said, "Are you okay?" and he started to stroke my foot. And I'd never had anybody kind of do that in such a natural, there was no come on. It was just, yeah. And that's how the title of the anthology comes about. So, yeah, that's how I see that poem. The Call. We live on the edge of our worlds. You, near the big lakes where Ojibwe, Cree and Métis fished and wolves roam in spruce woods. I traverse a coastline of Wathaurong people, Bengalit Bulug clan, where humpies and middens are buried. On this cold, wet, still day, I hear your voice. You, barefoot, basking in the northern sun, near the veggie patch, hoping for satellite coverage. I pace a room in old flannel pyjamas, holding on to words, see the honey-brown logs of your cabin. Can we swim the oceans, trek through bush, circle the globe, find common ground? Navigate our hearts to somewhere, a meeting place, like past tribes who found peace in their union. A phone line dies, a funeral of sound, where silence leaves its own message on this dismal day. I love Manitoba Drive because I'm very proud that I kept the flow of what I wanted to express in it. And that is that almost mesmerizing sense I have when I'm out in the expanse of the prairies. There is something about it. I've had the opportunity to travel to the Rockies and to go to Banff and do walks there. And oddly enough, I never write a lot of poetry there. It's like it's a sensory overload, the vision there. As soon as I come back to the prairies, I have a sense of calm. And I suppose where I came from in Australia, I was used to the wide expanse of Port Phillip Bay and the ocean, and not mountainous ranges. So very similar in that way. But there's something about the pensiveness of driving along with canola fields or wheat fields and that Manitoban sky. I just fell in love with it. Manitoba Drive. Rolls of smooth hay, so neat and trim like prissy girls waiting for their prom escort. Their dance floor, a huge shorn land. Dark golden in late sun, they bend and curtsy to the earth. They alone cast shadows, for no mountains rise from this land. The Rockies, a day's drive to the west. Bale's random positions break the endless prairies, an infinite landscape, terrain so persistent in its beauty. You drive with no real purpose. The flat horizon lulls you. Its languid sunset pulls you deeper into the province. No bridge or river as signposts. You stop at rural gas stations where quiet men in flannel shirts shuffle out to offer advice. At crossroads, surrounded by symphonies of wheat, you hear the hush of swaying crops. Red barns and towering grain silos signal farm life is near. Your feet could walk into these fields and fall asleep in them, like a blanket warming you forever.
Wow. Thank you, Jude. I hope you're having a good time up there. Thanks for tuning in. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our final artist of the evening, Theatre Projects Manitoba's associate producer, Emily Solstice Tait. Emily's also our RBC emerging artist on the Chautauqua. She's a dancer and a choreographer and an incredible collaborator. And I'm going to put this video into the world so she can introduce you and say all the things she wants to share with you about her work. Here we go, Emily.
The video you're about to see is a result of a one-year-long relationship with Aalborg-based dancer Avery Johannesson and TPM's own artistic director, Ardith Boxall. My name is Emily Solstice Tait, and it was my joy to create this forum for Avery and Ardith to learn and embrace and infuse with their own talents and approach to movement and dance. They were also patient as I learned how to dance with the elements, learning how to use the water and the wind to support the movement instead of trying to crisscross or work against the elements. It was part of my approach and my process to learn how to make dances that look like they are part of the environment in which we are dancing in, instead of just taking a dance that we normally would do on stage and put it on land. I want to offer thanks to Buyo of B&B Studios for being a patient teacher and someone who follows inspirations and listens really well. And I also want to say thank you to PJ Jordan for his editing skills and to Andraea Sartison for her mentorship during this time.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Emily. You can stay tuned for further iteration of Emily's work and another piece that she is working on for the Chautauqua in collaboration with another RBC emerging artist, Tanner Manson, whom you'll meet on Friday. The work will also live, much of the work that you see here tonight and on Friday will live on our YouTube channel and on our website, where you can go and read about all of these artists' work and the plans that we have for these projects moving forward through the summer and into the fall. So that closes out our show this evening. Thanks for tuning in. I want to thank Jen and Buyo from B&B Studio for their fine and beautiful camera work tonight, and also Buyo for your creative work and your fine artistry when we were working in the Interlake last week and the week before. It was a pleasure, so thank you for that. I'd like to thank Tessa Rogowski, our ASL interpreter, for joining us. And I'd like to thank Josh, who made this all happen, up there in the booth and in the seats and on the streaming. Much appreciated. And of course, the Gas Station Art Center for hosting us this evening. I'm really looking forward to sharing more work with you on Friday. The rest of the Chautauqua artists, 2 more RBC emerging artists will share their work, recorded and live, and then you'll have the full spectrum of what we've been doing, what we're going to continue to do, and what you can share with us. Thank you, Interlakers. Thank you all, and we'll see you on Friday. Chautauqua Live, out.
I sing, I'm from the prairie, born and raised between the inland oceans by the good Lord's grace. Closer to heaven, every moment spent living my life under the big sky. Na, 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 na. Just go there and find the salt of the earth in the face of the common man. Built a life for himself out of using his own 2 hands. Well, it's who we are, it's how it's done when we're from the prairie, born and raised between the inland oceans by the good Lord's grace.